Hey guys, what is up and welcome to a new Tesla update video. So today, as per usual, let's go over Tesla stock, let's go over the market, let's talk about what is happening to Tesla stock, what we can expect moving forward and all of that good stuff. So as per usual, if you enjoyed the video, please don't forget to hit that like button. This is not financial advice and I am not a financial advisor. And of course, if you enjoy my technical analysis, etc., I do have a membership section on YouTube. That link is down below in the description of the video. For just $3 a month, you can access all my intraday thoughts, posts, updates, etc. Every single day, the market is open. Definitely check it out if you're interested. Or for $5 a month, you get access to all of that, plus NVIDIA daily updates as well. But yeah, let's just jump right into it. Tesla closing the day up another almost 3% on the day, closing at just shy of $297, which is very interesting to even be able to say those kind of words. But yeah, $297 per share, which compared to the market, you know, roughly in line with the market actually. The market up about 1.5%, Tesla up about 3%, pretty much in line with the market, give or take, of course. Down a little bit post-market, but again, that's usually just random noise. I wouldn't put too much weight into it unless it's actually pretty significant, which in this case it isn't. But anyway, let's jump into it. So what can I see happening with Tesla moving forward, right? Is this bad? Is this good? Is Tesla bullish? Is Tesla bearish? What do I see moving forward? So to put it simply, Tesla's bullish, right? There's no question about it, Tesla's bullish. But, you know, obviously there's always two sides to a coin, right? Nothing is only bullish and nothing is only bearish. Well, actually, okay, there are some things that are only bearish. For instance, Celsius is arguably only bearish. You know, it's actually potentially, honestly, this finally might find some life, I'll be honest. But this is a stock where, oh boy. So, okay, maybe that's not the case. But nonetheless, I think Tesla is ultimately bullish, right? Ultimately bullish. Now, there are some signs to watch out for. I want to start off actually on a monthly chart here, right? The monthly chart. Now, this is not a chart I look very often at, but I think in this case, it warrants some attention. Now, granted, we're only about a week into this month. There's still a lot of time for better or for worse. But the reason I'm bringing this up is because you can see this kind of, you know, massive blue kind of rectangle, if you will, that I drew. This is pretty important. Why is this pretty important? Because you can see, other than this one instance where we pretty much short squeezed to all-time highs, Tesla has found this area, you know, a massive area of resistance and really just supply, right? A lot of the times Tesla gets rejected here and it goes much, much lower. Now, you know, this time it can absolutely be different, but the reason I bring your attention to this is because it is going to matter how this monthly candle closes. For instance, the bearish version of this monthly candle would be if Tesla essentially closes this month, in my opinion, below 270, but especially below 260, I think this ends up being a massive, massive bull trap. And I think Tesla actually can make its way back down into the low 200s again. It's a big if. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but that is just something to watch out for in the back of your mind. It could be pretty bearish if Tesla closes down below that, right? We can definitely make our way back lower and kind of retest this line one more time. That absolutely becomes a possibility. On the flip side, however, if on the monthly Tesla finally can close back up above these levels, pretty much the same level, but the opposite. So not below, but above, about, we'll say 270. Even above 260 is good, but ideally 270 in my opinion. That's pretty good. That's pretty good in my opinion. And that shows some sign, that shows some strength. And I think Tesla stock can actually finally make its way higher ultimately and continue this overall breakout. That's kind of the monthly perspective, right? So you definitely want to kind of watch for that moving forward. And the weekly, which is closing tomorrow, is unless we have an absolutely astronomical sell-off on Tesla, I think it's looking pretty solid. I actually do think it's looking pretty solid. Now, there is obviously a sign of concern, which I'll bring out very soon, but strictly off of the candle, you know, we'll have most likely, unless again, we sell off aggressively below 270, which, you know, technically possible. I'd be pretty surprised, but that would be essentially a drop of like 10% just tomorrow. I doubt it, honestly. I mean, something would have to pretty crazy happen. But assuming that were to happen, that would be pretty bearish. Now, assuming that doesn't happen and we play, you know, according to what it should be, Tesla would essentially be printing a nice bullish weekly engulfing candle, where essentially this week's candle pretty much fully engulfed the previous week's candle in a bullish fashion. So that's a very good sign. And that would be very, very nice to see. Now, with this being said, I do want to make this clear. We are, you know, if there is a place for Tesla to finally cool off, you know, let some steam off, reject, maybe even correct a little bit, because it has been moving pretty aggressively. We're pretty much at it. We're at the first major level, which is, again, 300. Worst case, I say worst case for the bears, about 315, because that would be this pivot point right over here, which is where the line is, which again is around 313, 14, 15, somewhere around there, right? This range right here that we're entering, this $15 range that we're tapping the door on right now, this is the place where there should be, in theory, quite a bit of supply, right? Quite a bit of supply here. And honestly, even just 300 alone can be potentially enough to reject us. Obviously, we'll see. We'll take it day by day, week by week. But just keep in mind that this area that we're entering right now should, in theory, be a pretty massive area of supply. So take that as you will. Now, assuming this is an area of supply and assuming we do reject from here, where can we potentially make our way down? Right now, like I said before on the daily chart, for instance, I personally, I don't want to lose this level that we had many issues before, right? This level right here that we've had many issues. I don't want to lose this level. That's the ideal scenario. This is the bull scenario, the bullish case, right? I want to hold this level. I don't want to go really much below 270, but really even like 265 could be okay. 260 is you're kind of like, playing on thin ice, but even 260 is okay. But that's when you're really playing on thin ice. Ideally, we hold about 270, 265, right? That's where we ideally hold. We don't go too much lower than that. And that essentially takes this area that, again, in the past was a massive area of resistance and a lot of trouble and really just supply for Tesla. In theory, it should turn into support. Plain and simple stuff, right? It should turn roughly into support, which should be, of course, really bullish. I'm checking on one thing. I'm actually slightly playing Square earnings. It's absolutely tanking. I put an order to buy. I don't know if it executed. I'm just very curious to see if it executed. Give me 1 second as I check. It actually executed. Nice. I actually bought in lower than it is right now. That's a good sign to see it like that. But so that's kind of the main thing I'll be looking at. Now, again, another thing to look at, and this would be still bullish, just short-term more bearish, would be if Tesla does lose this level. If Tesla does lose 270, I think that, we most likely will come back down to the bottom of this channel, this red channel, which will at some point probably bring it down into 230s once again, like my ultimate main target that was back then, the 230s. But why do I say this is still bullish? Well, first of all, we're assuming still holding this channel, but if I go back to the weekly, it's a little bit easier to demonstrate it here. We could be setting a really large cup and handle pattern. Remember we said many times before we're setting up a cup and handle here, and then we're like, oh, but maybe it's here, right? Whatever. But the point is this could be an even bigger one. Like this could be like a pretty astronomical cup and handle, assuming we reject that this 230 level, right? I think if we break above 230, this kind of, not 230, 300. If we break above 300, I don't think this cup and handle pattern becomes really a pattern anymore, because then it would be from up here, which I guess you can still make an argument, but it's cleaner if we reject that 300. But the reason this could be important, and it could still ultimately be bullish, even if we get this potentially short-term dip, maybe with the markets, potentially getting a mini correction or something like that, which I'll talk about really briefly soon. The way I look at it is if, well, you just take Fibonacci, take the Fibonacci from the bottom of the cup to, again, assuming we reject from 300, and I think that will come down to about the 230s. Like I still think the 230s would be a potential situation if we were to play out this cup and handle, which of course would essentially be setting up this handle pattern, which will look something like this, and then we kind of zigzag through it and ultimately break up, and I think we'll skyrocket out of that right there as long as we hold this area. Worst case scenario, and this is like worst case scenario, I don't think this is going to happen, I'll be honest. Tesla looks too bullish. The market would literally have to correct, in my opinion, for this to happen. But the worst case scenarios I would see was Tesla coming down all the way to 200, and absolute worst case all the way back down to 160s. I don't think this is going to happen. I'd be pretty surprised if that happens, I'll be completely honest. Like the market would quite literally need to correct significantly for that to happen. Or, God forbid something would have to happen to Elon, or like something really significant would have to happen for us to go that low. So I don't foresee that happening. But if we were to cool off from here, the first level I'll be looking for, like I said, let me go back here, would be if it's just like strictly very bullish, no games, nothing. The first level, major level, about 270. That alone can be all she wrote, right? That alone could be the only dip that we get. And from there we hold, and we essentially turn this area back into support, which was a massive resistance, and we've just skyrocket from there. That to me is like the bull case scenario, or like the pretty bull case scenario, like the more bullish case scenario, while the opposite scenario, which is still very bullish, but again, a little bit more bearish short term for the next maybe month or two, would be, again, a correction with this cup and handle pattern, correction all the way back down to about this trend line once again, which will put us down again, probably around that 230s-ish region. And then from there, I think we rocket. I think one of these two scenarios will happen. I don't know which one. We take it level by level. But again, the way you really look at it is if we lose this range that I just talked about, we're probably playing out the cup and handle pattern. We're probably making our way to 230s. If we just hold 270 roughly, then obviously we're probably not going to 230 because we're holding 270. And from there, we should ultimately make our way higher as well. So in my opinion, I think Tesla, both paths ultimately lead to a very bullish continuation coming into the next year. Again, something pretty major would have to happen for Tesla to not play this out, which, is always a possibility. You always, you can't disregard these kind of situations. It absolutely can happen. I don't think it's going to happen. I'd be pretty surprised if that were to happen. But that's kind of my overall thesis on Tesla right now. Very quickly, go back to the daily chart, right? Same idea, very bullish. Bring out the market bias that you can see here, which, is all the way down here. Again, I just want to make this really clear. The stock, it is exceptionally overbought. Like the stock is really overbought on the daily chart. Like, obviously that doesn't mean it has to correct or has to go down, whatever. For instance, back here, obviously it was very overbought, but it still ended up going up a few more days, right? It still ended up going a few more days before finally began that big correction. But the point I'm trying to make here is when it just comes to strict risk versus reward, in my perspective and from my point of view, buying when we're not only at the top of this band, but surpassing this band, the market's almost doing the same thing. The market's also very, very hot right now. Very, very hot. When I see these kind of things, the risk versus reward to me personally, it's just not there. It's just simply not there. That's why at the very least, I'd want to see Tesla come back to about the 270s. Ideally consolidates, let these bands sort of catch up to it, and then we go from there. And again, the kind of worst case bullish scenario, we actually come back and we revert back to the mean. We reset the indicators being extremely overbought right now, which they are. And we essentially come back, revert to the mean, come back to somewhere around, maybe like 230s, 240s, maybe 250s, but somewhere down there. But I would say around very low to high 230s. And we essentially retest this band. We reset this indicator, the bands from like the one with the yellow lines and the red lines, etc., from being extremely overbought. And I think from there, I think it'll still be very bullish. I think regardless of the path we take, I think they both have bullish outcomes. It's just a matter of how bullish are we? How crazy bullish is the stock right now? So take that for what it's worth. And of course, let's not forget, again, right now Tesla, there is still potential to the upside, even from here, strictly off of a momentum basis. And I will be absolutely swinging it. If I see Tesla break above 300 and hold, I will absolutely be swinging it, because I think Tesla will probably make its way up to about 315. Honestly, within a couple of days, maybe even the same day, but probably within a couple of days easily. If we break above and hold to 300, I think the momentum will continue, and I think we'll make our way to 300 or 315 roughly, and then I think we'll correct from there. But again, those are the main levels I'm looking for. And if a correction or a cool off were to happen, that's kind of the levels to the downside I'm eyeballing. Again, ideal scenario, we hold 270, but still bullish scenario, we make our way a bit lower and head to the low 240s, roughly high 230s. And that's kind of how I'm looking at it. That's pretty much the way I'm eyeballing it. And that's what I'm thinking moving forward. In terms of options flow, Tesla is actually getting pretty damn bullish right now. Towards the end of the day, some bearishness did finally come in. We had FOMC today. Usually FOMC does kind of the real move the next day. Markets were actually pretty positive on FOMC today. But again, like I said, the real move, the quote unquote real move, usually happens the day after, which is tomorrow. So I actually do expect a bit of a sell-off tomorrow for the market. We'll see. Maybe I'm wrong. Who knows? I'm not betting on it. I'm just getting ready to buy the dip. If it doesn't, phenomenal. No worries whatsoever. I'm not buying puts or anything. Don't worry about that. But throughout the morning, Tesla very, very bullish flow, which is what told me that it's going to break higher. I was sharing it with members 15-minute charts pretty much the whole day. We talked about how if it breaks 290, it should head higher to $300 per share. That's exactly what we did. I can even scroll down to roughly where I was saying it. Where was it? That's the break right here. Looks pretty good for 300 or at least high 290s on that break. You can see right there. And yeah, like I talked about how a lot of bullish flow is coming in, how it came right down to the 285 support pre-market and it looks ready to blast past 290, just needs another push. That's exactly what it did. And it came to my 300 targets. That played out pretty well. Anyway, I'm dragging on this video. Hope you enjoyed. Membership section down below if you're interested. Literally just $3 a month. But yeah, thanks for watching. See you tomorrow. Peace.